So today we have a member of the field service crew, no stranger to getting dirty on the job, Madison, here to talk to us about the Buffalo project going on right now.
So we have a job going on in Buffalo, and we, as of now, have been there almost a year on and off throughout the phases. And we have basically just recently finished phase 2. Phase 3 is about to start up, and that's the final stage. This whole project, what's the purpose? Why are we there? What are we doing? Give me a quick rundown.
So we're there to reinforce the main water lines. All the water that goes off to all the houses, we are there to fix them. We are going in and we are putting seals up over the joints in the pipe, and the joints are where the two pipe segments meet together. And we are just putting seals up to prevent groundwater from getting into the pipe or the pipe water getting out of the pipe and causing erosion.
Right, because this is all potable water, and we're just trying to make sure that, nothing bad happens, everyone's drinking water.
Right. So we're installing seals over the joints, but before we install the seal, we do have to chip out a concrete lining that is in the pipe. And the concrete lining can be anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches thick. So after we chip that out, we then get all the chippings out of the pipe, and then we install our seals. And then after the seals are installed, we air test them to make sure that they are airtight.
So the previous concrete is stripped away, we put the seal in, we air test it, and then you kind of build up new concrete up to the edge of the seal. So it's smoother, there's less of a profile of the seal sticking up to, kind of hinder flow in any way. Okay, so what did phase 1 and 2 look like in size and scope? What kind of what were the diameters of the seals? How many? Give me that kind of rundown.
So in phase 1, it was all 36s, and we used a different variety of the seals. We used double wides, extra wides, and kind of the same with the phase 2, except it's 48s. We had a few 36s in the beginning, but once we hit the middle and the end was all 48s, and we also had a couple 60s in there. And same procedure there. We chipped them out, installed, air tested, concreted.
The amount we're looking at probably at 350 or so for the first 2 phases combined, and then this next one will be starting up soon is about 160. And I want to stress that I'm saying about because when we get there, it's not always exactly as the plans say. Sometimes, you look at it and you see that the separation is worse than you expected, and you have to install a double wide rather than a standard to bridge the gap. And, the HydraTite seal is pretty flexible, but, when there's more separation or an offset, you might need a larger seal. So on that note, what does the offset and separation generally look like in the joints that you've been in so far?
They really all differ. We've seen joints that are only like 1/2 inch apart, and then we've seen joints as big as 3, almost 3.5 inches apart. And then kind of the same with the offset. We've got some that's perfectly level, and then we have some that's an offset of 1 inch to 2 inches. So really depending on that will depend on what size seal we put in. There was a double wide we had to put in with a backing plate, because the joint was about 3.5 inches wide. So depending on that depends the size of the seal.
So your location would probably also add to the complication of it all, because you guys are right next to Canada. I mean, the phase 3 is going to take place right next to Peace Bridge, which is the bridge connecting the United States to Canada. So I imagine you guys have at least run into some ice.
Oh yeah, we've had a few times there's been ice in the pipes, where there's like a consistent flow of water through the pipeline, and the top layer will just freeze, but you can step on it and move it out of the way. We've also had a few times we've had ice in the pits. Just break it up with a hammer and get it out.
But you mentioned previously that there was water, but the pipelines are shut down. That's why this is in phases. So they shut down one section and then you work on it, and they shut down another section, so it has minimal effect on the people living there. But despite being shut down, there's still like an inch of water sometimes?
Well, it really differs. So if there's like a belly in the pipe, which is like a dip in the pipeline, that can sit and that can hold some water. Not to mention, like, if our pits fill up with some water, you can get water in there. We haven't really been in too deep of water. We did deal with like 1 foot of water, which doesn't sound like a lot until you're in a 36-inch pipe, and then
in the cold, it's way worse.
Even more.
Absolutely, yeah. And other complicating factors. What kind of buildup are we looking at, generally speaking?
So normally it's just calcium. It's kind of like a looser substance just all over the inside of the pipe, but you can wipe it right off and it just goes out. In a couple of the pipelines we have dealt with tuberculation, which is just the calcium and it's just built up and it's just slightly harder. So at that point we do have to chip it out versus just wiping it off with a scraper.
So the focus mostly just focused on the joints themselves in this line, miles and miles of pipe. But there is obviously going to be other things that come up. Like you mentioned, you're going to be chipping away some of the previous concrete liner. You're going to be pulling out some of that
Tuberculation.
There we go. And on top of that, I believe there was also some complicating factors of like offshoots, like smaller pipes that would go to unused fire hydrants and stuff like that are no longer being used. Like what all did that take to deal with those?
So one of them we had to get like a plug to put inside of it and then put concrete over it. And then we took a backing plate, which is just a thin piece of metal that we push against the main pipe.
Yeah, so in the main pipe covering the offshoot. Yeah.
And then because the offshoot is just off the side of the pipe. So we put the backing plate up to cover that offshoot against the main pipe. And then we just put our seal over it and put the bands in and install the seal like normal.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, that's all I got for you. I appreciate the update.
Can you get out of our pipe?